Welcome back, friends. Come with me on a journey to the sort of distant past. The year, if you can imagine, is 1992. It is a very different world. There are only like 5 websites. I'm wearing out my Aladdin VHS tape. It was very popular at the time. My brother got a Super Nintendo for Christmas, and we were playing what will become one of the best Zelda games to ever be created, with his trusty Nintendo Power magazine to guide us through it. The game is Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. In this video, I am going to show you how I made a little diorama based on, it's kind of like a tribute to the clay pot, which is so pivotal, so important in this game. I can't understate how important the clay pot is in Link to the Past. So I had this clay pot, and it was all beat up and falling apart, and I was missing huge chunks of it, but I didn't want to get rid of it because it's a beautiful pot. So I thought, well, better use for it than making a diorama, and this pot spoke to me, and it said that it wanted to be made into a Link to the Past diorama. So here I am. I'm just using some E600 glue to kind of reinforce the really bad cracks. And the idea is that I don't want to go to all this trouble and build this awesome diorama and then have it fall apart. So that's what I was going for there. This is just PVA glue. I'm going to do some air dry clay to like replace the clay that's missing, I guess you would say. So yeah, there's like this giant hole in the bottom. I just kind of like mushed on air dry clay and squished it into the hole, and then I did the same thing on the inside of the pot. And you won't actually see it because I'm going to cover it up. But the outside, I threw on some gold paint. I was trying to make it look like one of those cool Japanese kintsugi? I don't know how to say that. One of those pots where they patch it with gold. It doesn't look great. I'm fine with it. Whatever. So I needed to build up the bottom to make it nice and flat, and I decided to use plaster. The first step is you read the directions, and the second step is that you have to follow the directions, which I failed to do. So I actually did 2 parts water, 1 part plaster. It's supposed to be 2 parts plaster, 1 part water. I didn't realize before now that plaster of Paris is like the same thing as drywall mud, which I've worked with a million times. So I don't know like what was wrong with me and why I like never made this connection before. But the consistency that you want is drywall mud, and if you think of that, it's very simple. You just add a little water until you get it. And I'm so much smarter now. Wow, I've learned so much by thinking, I guess. So I just threw some in the bottom of this pot, and I'm trying to flatten it all out. It's kind of like frosting a tiny little cake. I just want a flat base for my diorama. And of course, because I didn't follow the instructions, I had like way too much plaster, so I decided to just squish some stuff into it and see what happened. It was not exciting, but it was fun. So back to the game. I'm going to show you what the house... I'm going to make my house, like Link's house. And this is where you start the game, and it's a super cute little house. Those were your first sight of the clay pots that are so important in this game. You can smash them and they come right back. And sometimes they have hearts in them. And sometimes they have magic. Like, they're just amazing, and I love them. Anyways, I'm building the house the same way I pretty much build all houses that I do, out of cereal boxes and foam core. And I'm like eyeballing the front of this house to see where everything should go. It's actually quite a square house, and I made quite a rectangular house. But that's just what I did. So I'm using foam core on the front because I need those little like roundy edges, because the house it's like roundy at the front, so that's why I did that. And now usually I do an inside or an outside of a house, but this time I'm doing an inside and an outside, so I decided I would make 2 sides and then I can work on them separately, if that makes sense. Anyways, I'm doing the floor now. This is just coffee stir sticks that I cut into like centimeter lengths and then glued down to make like a nice little kind of wood tile floor based on the look in the game. And I used EVA foam to make this weird brick trim you see. I guess it's wainscoting. It's a weird style. This is a 16-bit game. Like, the graphics are not amazing, which is like part of the challenge when you're trying to craft it yourself. I guess maybe that makes it easier because what you make can like kind of suck a little bit because like it doesn't look very good in the game either. So then it's like more authentic. So I didn't have to make anything like real amazing here, and I didn't. It's very simple. It was very, very simple EVA foam, and painted it and then dry brushed it, and it turned out really cute. There's like this red trim around the base, and I use quilling paper, which is really nice for this scale anytime you just can get away with it and you need something to look really like sharp-edged and good. Quilling paper is very handy. You can get it in like a rainbow of colors and it's pretty cheap. And now I'm making some shelves for tiny little pots that go inside Link's house. Again, just coffee stir sticks. And I'm making a little fireplace. He has like it's a little tiny fireplace. There's like a pot hanging in it. There's no chimney on this house. So I don't know, just not a detail they felt like including, I guess. It would have been really cute. But, I think it's just a giant pot in there. I don't know. Like, how does this thing ventilate? We can't worry about these things. It's just a game. Nowadays, I feel like they would put in a chimney. Back then, maybe, you just dealt with it. This is 1992. Did chimneys exist before 1992? I feel like they probably did, but maybe not in Legend of Zelda. Anyway, I made it look like bricks. And now I'm switching to polymer clay. I'm making the little details that'll go inside the house. It's a lot easier if you make a little paper template of what you need to create, so then you can figure out what your footprint should be, and then you can kind of place your little paper template around and make sure that everything's going to fit in there okay. So I did that, and I'm making a little bed at this point. It doesn't have to be very precise. I'm basically making up the design. I didn't go too crazy on it. Just some simple little shapes, and honestly, when you work at this scale, you don't have to do that great of a job because it's so tiny. You can't be that detailed anyway, so I'm not sweating the tiny little details too much. I did make some candlesticks that were like too bad to use, but otherwise I just made a bunch of pots and like some bigger bowl shaped things. And then I made some tiny little plates that I stacked up because I figured this house has a stove, but it doesn't have a kitchen. There's no kitchen stuff otherwise. But I feel like if you have a stove, you're gonna eat. So you might as well have some plates. So I made some plates. We're back to the game. I'm gonna show you guys a little bit more of this game because every few years, I like to come back and play it again. This is the dark world, so there's like the light world and then there's the dark world, and they're pretty much the same world, but like slightly different and with different bad guys. So I love this concept. I guess it's like maybe pretty common in the other Zelda games, but I haven't played them, so I don't know. One really fun thing about these games though, like this game in particular, I don't know how the other ones work, but in this one, I really like the dungeons. I really like the different like weapons that you get and the different you just get different gear, and then it kind of like opens up new possibilities for you, so that makes it really fun. It's kind of vague, but some of the dungeons are more fun than others, like, and I feel like there's like a pretty big emphasis on dungeons in this game. And normally I hate dungeons because I like hate fighting. I pretty much just run away from bad guys most of the time because like I'm a total wuss and I just like don't like confrontation. I don't want to fight anyone. But sometimes you have to. And like the battles and the fighting in this game are not that bad. for example, like, this is one of the bad dudes. I don't know what his name is. He's really weird, but boss battles in this game are not too brutal. Like, usually I can do it without even dying. If I have lots of, like, fairies stored up, you can put fairies in bottles, and then if you die, they, like, bring you back to life and give you a couple hearts or whatever. So, like, it's a pretty accessible game. I don't know how far I got when I was, like, a little kid when I played this, but the last few times I've come back and played it, I know my reflexes are not what they used to be, but I still do okay. So it's like a pretty accessible game. I don't know. It's no Dark Souls. Like, there's plenty of games that are just, as far as I'm concerned, like, way too hard, and they're just, like, not fun. Like, one thing I love about this game is that it's, like, you can always keep moving forward, because you never just get stuck. Although I never beat it because of the ending being too hard. But, like, up until that point, I never get stuck, and that's, like, one of the great things about this game. So, I'm just showing you that I beat a boss. I just, like, want you guys to believe that I beat a boss one time. Not really. I'm just showing you, like, what a boss battle is like. Of course, there's, like, the elaborate story about princesses and maidens, and, like, all of that has never really made very much sense to me, because I don't know, there's, like, too many characters. I just can't follow it, but there's probably some people that are, like, into the Zelda lore. I don't know. Yeah, you just save the princess, right? Like, kill Ganon, kill some baddies. What else do you really need to know? At this point, I'm just switching back to making little things to go inside the house. So there's, like, a couple tables in there, and I'm giving it some, like, 16-bit paint details, which, you know, not too fancy. Not too fancy. Not too worried about it. I'm, like, not that great at painting anyway, so all I'm trying to do is kind of recreate the look. And I'm making, this will be like the leaded glass windows. And with the technique I chose, if you can call it a technique, of doing like an outside and an inside wall, you can just like sandwich the window in between, which is nice. So that was like one of the reasons I did it. I had many reasons, but that's like one perk. So here I'm showing you just gluing it all together. I notched the little trim pieces at the bottom so they would fit together nicely. I ended up, I don't know, this wasn't perfect. The front and back are like sitting on top of the wood floor, and then the sides, no, I have that backwards. The sides are on top of the wood floor, and then the front and back are like in front and back of the wood floor, which is always kind of like hard to work out. I don't know. I want perfection, you know. It's so hard. I had to just let it be. I don't even think you'll see it. So I'm sure it'll be fine. These are the tiny clay pots that I love so much in the game. At one point in the game, like when you start, for like quite a while, you can kill a soldier with a clay pot, and it kills the soldier like more effectively. It's like a one-shot kill of a soldier if you use a clay pot, but then your sword, it takes like 2 or 3 shots. So the clay pot is actually stronger than like whatever crappy sword you have in the really beginning, which I always thought was pretty funny. I think you can probably, I don't know if bushes are the same. Did you want me to talk about what I'm doing? I'm sorry. Just putting in details, getting everything installed. This part's fun. That's our inside. It's pretty adorable. I really like how that turned out. Big fan. Made a cute little door to go in the front. I had used clamps to hold together the front and back pieces, like the outside and the inside, and they left marks. So there I was just like trying to blend in the marks that the clamps left, so that wasn't great. Alligator clamps are not like the most gentle on foam. Lesson learned. So at this point, I'm gonna make the house sit on top of a cliff, so I'm layering up cardboard so that I can make a cliff to go inside my pot. This is similar to the cliffs that I made in my Stardew build. If you haven't watched that video, it's a pretty good technique. It's like pretty easy. If I had this to do over, oh, and I used PVA with a mix of hot glue so it like holds now and forever, but if I had this to do over, I would have made the cliff more steep, like more up and downy. Steep is the right word. But otherwise, this is like a good way to kind of quickly crank out some height in your diorama, and then you can add clay to it, just like squish some clay, and you'll see what I do. And I'm just rounding off my edge, so it looks nice. So this is air dry clay, and I'm just mushing it into the cardboard. I didn't glue it, I ended up gluing it on the foam parts. I don't know if that's really necessary, but I didn't want it to pop off, so I think the glue also helps it keep from cracking too much too, so it seems like why not. And then I'm making the little like boulder looking parts that you can see on the reference image on the left. So I just made roundy bits. Once I got them all in and I started sculpting this part, I realized it really looked like I was making like an elephant foot. And once I had that in my head, like I just like imagined I was making an elephant foot, which is really weird. Like elephant feet are really, I don't know, I think they're scary. Like they have giant toenails. I like elephants, but I think their feet gross me out. But like, I think all feet gross me out actually. That's not true. Like cats' feet are really cute. Elephants' feet are like really gross and gnarly. So anyway, I made an elephant's foot, but it ends up looking like a cliff, I think. I'd bring it back. Maybe when I paint it, it fixes it. It was at this point that I decided that I absolutely love the map that's in Link to the Past. So I was like, oh my god, I need to like draw this map because it's like too good not to. So I decided to draw this map. And it's just a square map. And so my technique, I just decided to divide a square piece of paper into 9 sections. And I think this worked really well. Like it is like a lot easier to do if you divide up your paper and then just work on little segments at a time. So this was really fun. And I thought it turned out really well. So you guys can kind of follow me as I develop this. And it was really fun to color too, so I'll probably just like have a coloring sheet that I will put in a link to in the video notes, and you can go color if you want to. But I don't know how it'll print on like a normal piece of paper that is not square. I guess if you really want to try, you can go try. So now I'm just painting my elephant foot. I want some nice like cartoony colors, so that's why I went with such a bright green. I'm finally ready to glue this thing down in the pot. And I'm using like foam air dry clay around the edges. I'm a big fan of foam air dry clay. It doesn't make your hands all gross because it's not all like wet. It's still wet, but I don't know, it's just different. But it's really easy to like tuck into these back crevices and stuff. And you can't, like with this particular brand, you can't really like flatten it out, like smooth it out if you add water. That's the only downside to it. I don't know, I've seen people use foam clay that you can do that with, so I think it's just like this brand in particular, but it was fine for this application. So now I'm showing you, I made a roof, and I put off making the roof for like the longest time because I was just intimidated by it, and I was just like, got to the point where I was like, okay, I have to make the roof, I can't not make the roof. So I finally just decided I would like make it as fast as I possibly could in like using random cardboard, and it didn't take like I want to say piecing together this cardboard structure took like 10 minutes. It like was not that hard. It's a mansard roof, so it like is slopey on the sides and then it's flat at the top, which I don't know, that just like intimidated me. But if you make it out of cardboard, I was like, I don't know what I thought it was gonna be so hard. But you just make it out of cardboard and you use hot glue, and then I put clay over it, so it doesn't even matter. I don't know what was wrong with me. Anyway, it's super easy, like anyone could do this. Not anyone would do this, I realize. But most people could do this. I did end up cutting a lot of this out. You'll see. I needed like something to put clay onto, so it's like my skeleton that I had to put flesh on. I don't really like that, but we'll go with it. Here's the flesh. It's just air dry clay again. And I'm just gonna glue it on and then mush it around. And part of why I used air dry clay for this is because it's like cartoony and all the edges are roundy. So I didn't want to make like, normally I would make like a cereal box roof, but it would have really sharp edges. What I was showing you there is that if you have bumps, which I did because of using hot glue, they will telegraph through your clay. So just be aware of that. But you can smooth out a lot of things with clay. Sometimes you have to add more though. Add more clay if you're trying to like hide bumps and stuff. But you just add water and you can run your finger over it and smooth it out. And I ended up with like a pretty smooth finished product in the end. You could still see some of the seams and stuff, but I think it turned out alright. There's really not much to this roof. Like, there's not really much texture to speak of. There's like this band that goes around it that has kind of like scalloping that I put in. Like, that's about the only exciting part about this roof. Very simple. No shingles. Who knows what it's made of? Like, if the game were real, this would just be like one solid piece of something. And I notched the clay so that my trim would join up with it okay, because I didn't want to use glue for whatever reason. And I ended up kind of blending this in enough that it didn't really matter. And then I needed to add the little kind of scalloping that you can see in the picture, although not very well. But there's just like these cute little details. The funny thing about this house is that the door, it's like such a short house. The door actually goes like above the roof line, which mine does not. And I actually, like, as you see it now, it's like way too tall. So that's why I go and like chop it up in a minute here. I needed to add the little bits on the roof, on the top. So that wall is like way too high, so I decided I needed my roof to sit like over the house rather than on top of the house, which meant that I needed to basically like scrape out all the guts. And I did this while the clay was still kind of wet, so it was like pretty sketchy, but I roughed it up actually quite a bit. The outside of the clay had dried, but the inside was still kind of wet. I don't know, I was like kind of violent. I guess I was in a hurry. I just like had no patience. I decided I was finishing this freaking roof. I want to get it done. So yeah, I chopped off the back so that it would sit on the house instead of on the house. Whatever. And it left an unfortunate gap at the back that I didn't know what to do with. So it just is. And it's at the back, like you don't really see it when you look at the house from the front, so I just decided that was okay. Sometimes things aren't perfect. You just have to accept that sometimes things are not perfect. So I got my drawing all done in pencil, and then I go through and do all the fine line. And I use a ruler for the straight edges, which makes it look really sharp and nice. And I got like a house plan template that I'm using here, just to make I'm making little houses, but I don't think that's what they meant when they made the house plan template, but that's what I'm using it for. I'm making all the little houses with their cute little roofs. And then I went through and added lots of other little details. If you do the big detail, the big parts first, then you can go back and fill in the little details. And that part's fun. You can add all the little itty-bitty bits like the trees and lots of little shading and stuff. So that's the picture before I painted it, and that's what I scanned. So if you do want to go like color it for yourself, that's what the printout will look like. I decided to use watercolor, and I was actually really anxious about it, but I think it turned out really cool. And it was really fun to do. I just love this map. I might go and do like a foam core version of this map, kind of like my SimCity video, if you're familiar with that. That was recommended to me by Durf Kluge, my friend. Durf Kluge had that great idea. So I was like, yo, that would be awesome. Like I do want to make if you Jazza, of course, is like a very popular Australian content creator who made a crazy Hyrule Kingdom that was based on the new game that has the Link to the Past map, but his is all like 3D printing, and it was like enormous. I would like to do a miniature version of this map, and I think I will. I don't know when though, because I got the big bot bash coming up next, but hopefully soon. So I'm winding down. I just have like a few more little details to work out at this point. This is polymer clay again. I'm just making these cute little bushes to go in front of the house. I'm just using some clay cutters. They're Kyoko brand. They're like a floral set, just tiny little petals and things, petals and leaves. I love how these bushes turned out. They're super cute. And then I made some little boulders as well, just to accessorize our front yard a little bit. Yeah, we're getting down to the final details now. I painted this rock like 800 times. Like I went darker, I went lighter. I just kept looking at the reference image and changing colors until I finally got colors that I liked. So you'll see in the glamour shots that it's not quite like that, or like that. I added some little fence posts. This is left over from my Stardew build. I had like some little wood looking sticks, and then I made a tiny little, this guy kind of sucks. Like, he's really cute, obviously, but he looks nothing like an elf. He's very roundy, but here's the final result. That's my Zelda Link to the Past house. There's our interior with all the beautiful pottery and details, and there's how my paint job worked out in the end. And the roof. And then I stuck Link out front. My cartoony little Link. And he had to go inside. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you could like and subscribe, I would very much appreciate it. And of course, the kitties love to see you guys as well. This is Brownie. She's just being silly. Checking with Megan. Megan's just being sleepy. She looks kind of mad. I don't know. She might be irritated there. It's hard to tell with cats. And then there's Wibbles. She's just all tucked in, kind of, maybe also kind of irritated that I put a camera in her face. And it's been super snowy here in Michigan, so I'm just showing you how much snow was piled up in our backyard through our very dirty window. It was just absurd. It was yucky. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and Brownie sends her love in the way that only a kitty cat can.